And then when we're all done, we'll hit end and somehow it'll miraculously go to you.
Right. I am recording it on my local computer because I think that'll give me a better quality video to edit later on.
Okay.
So let me make sure I plug it in. But it should be recording now. Did everybody get a message that they're being recorded?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, having said that, there's only one person that's not here and he may show up, but let's start. So welcome to this Death Cafe. This was inspired by a patient friend who is now dead, who was ill through the summer and was interested in the Death Cafe. And so she's not able to actually physically be here, but the Death Cafe can be run in a variety of ways. And each of you brings a depth of experience and your very own perspective on your life and death. So to start and to really just move us into the conversation, I would ask each of us to take a little time to say something about who we are to the group. And as you say who you are and who you've been, also include your interest in this topic. And this in and of itself can take all the time that we have for this, because as someone talks, we'll listen. And as we listen, we're able to reflect and respond, ask questions, and each person therefore kind of creates this weaving dialogue around the topic. So is there anybody who would like to start?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yep.
No, you can't hear me.
Who said that? Was it Barb?
Well, I think I said it after David.
Go ahead, Barb. Go for it. Say where you're from, Barb, so everyone appreciates that.
Yeah, I'm celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving, and I was going to ask you all if you were full of turkey, and then I realized that you don't have Thanksgiving at the same time. So I'm from Nova Scotia, Canada, and I know Stacy through her partner, Tom, and my life has been one of, as an educator, also a parent of 2 girls, and I've got 4 grandchildren. I was a retired high school guidance counselor, and I'm really, really interested in this topic because I think from the time we're born, we fear death. Some people do. The dying process for me more than actual death. I went through the past 20 years with my husband that developed Alzheimer's 20 years ago when he was 51, and he died at 71. So he just recently passed in March. And that was a long journey, a very long farewell. My mom passed away in June, and then my cousin passed away in July. So I've dealt with quite a bit of death lately. Lost my best friend at 20, who I still communicate with through letters. I know that sounds crazy, but a very special friend of mine. So I am interested in death. I'm really excited. I don't know much about Death Cafe, but I'm really excited to be part of this conversation. So thank you so much for including me, Stacy.
You're welcome. And to try to exemplify how to move this forward, I'm going to do some reflective listening with you, Barb, to acknowledge some of what I heard you say. Mm-hmm. Because that's what kind of creates the link between us, is to ensure that we're hearing each other, that we're processing what we heard the other person say. And then if, there's a side discussion, we can have that. So the thing that most moved me that you said was that the fear of the like process of dying, not death itself, for you. And then also heard you describe the process of taking care of your husband who died to you over a period of 20 years. And so the loss and the grief that you've probably experienced over that time with him, as well as the loss that you've most recently experienced. And so I would say, what is it about dying that you fear?
I think the unknown about the actual process. So my first experience with death was my best friend who died of Hodgkin's disease at 20. And I was in university and I would have visited her. In those days, they kept patients hospitalized. So through the whole year of my second year undergrad, I was only a block or two away from the hospital where she was. So seeing losing the hair and having her body marked up with radiation, feeling sick, not knowing why her, a healthy gal that developed this disease for no reason, just seeing her go through the process and me being with her through that, made me just fear it for my children, fear it for myself. I think that was probably the initial thing. So when my husband developed Alzheimer's, it was seeing death, the dying process for such a long period of time that, and I guess I've always, ever since the loss of my friend 50 years ago, I've been an advocate for medical assistance in dying, and I'm, feel very relieved that we have that. But for patients who have Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, that is not the case in Canada. I don't know whether that's the case there, but you're just ripped away of such dignity, and you're so helpless to be able to, even though the physicians here say that palliative care is the answer, we really don't need medical assistance in dying. I've seen horrific cases in some of my other friends going through ovarian cancer and so on, where the palliative care just was not good. And so I've always been one to just say, up the morphine, like, please treat me like you would your animal, with respect, and let me not go through this. I've been with several people at the end. My other best friend died of breast cancer, and she wanted me in the hospital with her. So I was with her and I saw her take her last breath. And I'm still not convinced that palliative care work here in our local community is adequate to make me feel not fearful of death. I've seen too much pain and gasping and, arguing with physicians to please up the morphine a little bit, even if it does make the process go a bit faster. That whole thing makes me feel uncomfortable with dying.
Oh, would anyone like to respond to that?
I think that's pretty much what we all dread. I mean, most of us, if we have lived a fruitful life, or we feel like we've accomplished something of what we had hoped to accomplish, never all of it. And we've had happy times, and we've had love, and we've had adventures. We don't dread the dying so much. What you dread is the process, as Barb said, of being in pain and totally out of control of everything. You have no choice about what's being done to you or for you at certain points in this process. And that's a horrible thing. And I know I was with, my cousin's dad was dying of cancer, and the whole family was there. So I went in to be with them, and I said, you can take a break. I'll just stay here for as long as you need me. You can go and, have a meal or do what you need to do. And they did. And he had told me some days earlier when I visited him, even before he went in the hospital, he said, I don't want to have to suffer the pain. So make them give me something so I won't have to feel the pain. So while I was there, he started thrashing and moaning in pain. And I called the nurse and I said, he needs more morphine. He's in pain. And he has told us all he can't stand the pain. And so she gave him more morphine, and in no time at all, he was gone. And I thought, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. And I know doctors and nurses do that. Not all of them, of course, but I know it happens. And I worked in a hospital and I know it happens, but we shouldn't have to have somebody beside us begging for that. It should be something that's written somewhere in the right to die law that you can just say at a certain point, I want the extra morphine, I'm ready to go. So.
Thank you, Terry. Would anyone like to respond to what Terry said or back to what Barb said?
I was just experiencing in the death of my husband and my mother, you know, doctors feeling pretty handcuffed about being able to do that. I agree with you, Terry, that, you know, that just seems like the humane way to deal with end of life, but there is that fine line, and I have a lot of respect and empathy for the physicians that are just wondering, do I just give enough to get them more comfortable, or, you know, knowing that if I give the amount that people are kind of asking for, it is going to actually cause the death. And so I'm sure that, I mean, Stacy, you work with this all the time. I'd love to hear your point of view, but I mean, I think my husband had really respectable physicians with him near the end. And they were in belief that he didn't need more morphine. I mean, there was this dilemma for them, you know, if we give him more, it could end his life. Well, he'd been dying for 20 years, you know. And so I think that physicians that are, or palliative care nurses, you know, have to know that there would be some people would say that extra morphine killed my loved one, you know, gave him too much, you know, like there are varying, and legally and ethically, I'm just sure it's a very complicated procedure at the end.
Charlie? You should probably say who you are, Charlie.
I'm
Okay,
a retired family physician. I'm changing my name to Porthos now because I'm a new character, Porthos. But anyway, Porthos was a person searching for the unattainable, and very frustrating. And anyway, in the end, I came to realize that Porthos came to realize that he had everything he needed already. So there was no need for searching. And that's helped me a lot. And I taught a lot of medical students, and one of the first things I tried to do was get them to get comfortable with the idea of dying, of talking about death and experiencing what it's like, because they were going to face it. And the sooner you get comfortable with your own mortality, the burden can be lifted for all the worrying, even some of the worrying I heard tonight. You know, for me, it's, and I'm going to be 77 soon. I have learned that there's two things I have to do: be present, and you can't die when you're in the present. That's one of the things I would say. Think about that. You can't die while you're in the present. And the other thing is trusting the process. I trust the process. Now, I may end up with a miserable death. I don't know. You know, I'm doing what I can to make sure people around me know that give me all the morphine you can get. You know, that's the way I want. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to rage against the night. I want to go peacefully. And that's after experiencing a lot of people dying in different ways. So that's where I'm coming from. And who knows, I see all these people who are very health conscious, but I used to, the old Charlie would have said, Pothos wouldn't say this, but Charlie would have said to them, you take all your vitamins, you exercise, you do everything you can to improve your cosmetic being, all these things. And one day you cross the street and you're hit by a bus. You didn't plan on that. And we all have plans. And the old expression, if you want God to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Well, for me, I solved that problem by accepting whatever comes. And it isn't always pleasant. But that gets me through life. Spiritually, when I went from Charlie to Pothos, I had a change, an awakening that worrying about death is not something that does any good for me. What does it do? I'm wasting life. I'm not living, I'm not being when I'm worrying about death. Okay, I tend to dominate conversation, so I want to sit back and listen. Pothos is trying to be more subtle than Charlie was, so that's what I have to say. Thank you all for being here tonight, and I had a meal the day after Thanksgiving tonight. Whoever's from Nova Scotia, who was that? Terry?
Barb.
I had Bob. I had day after Thanksgiving for supper tonight. They created a meal that we can get anytime.
Great.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Would anyone like to respond to what Charlie said, or back to what Terry or Barb said?
I just wondered, Charlie, Pothos, how you can't die in the present. Like, I want you to just explain that to me. I sound a little unevolved, but I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Uh-oh. We lost your sound there, Charlie.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yep.
When you're in the present, the way you're connected to the present is through consciousness, which is connected to your senses. So as long as your senses are operating, you're in the present. Once the senses go, you're not present in the consciousness that we recognize as normal reality. So that's why I'd say if I die, all my bodily functions stop. There is no present as we know it. The present is suddenly a whole different present, something we don't understand, an uncertain present.
I'd like to intercept that.
And
with
I trust
saying-
the process. I trust the process, so I have little doubt that something's going to happen, and it may be a lesson, it may be a mistake, it may be something, but it's an opportunity, and it's down the trail, it's not backwards.
Sorry for
Does
interrupting.
that help any, Bob?
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. I think that is pretty deep. But yeah, I was thinking more of like getting hit by an 18-wheeler. You could be very present when crash, you're dead. Like I think I was just taking it quite literally rather than philosophically. So I hear what you're saying. Thank you for that.
It would
Barb,
be a very brief number of presents if you're hit by an 18-wheeler. That would go very quickly. You wouldn't have a present for very long.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
can you hear me, Barb?
Yeah.
I want to address something that I heard you bring up. Before I do that, I want to kind of do like a little bridge between what Charlie was saying and what I heard you saying, and that is that, there's the physical body and there's the whatever else. And When you are the person who's dying, that's one part of dying. And if you're anybody else that's not dying, that loves, knows, or is with that person that's dying, that's another experience of dying. And that most of us are thinking right now about our dying, our death, and we call upon people we know who have died. But taking on the perspective of how will my death and process of dying affect the people that are around me is another perspective to sit with. And sometimes it's a heavy part of our being that we don't talk enough about, right? Like someone says, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss or whatever, but the grieving process takes a long time and it comes up through other deaths, and it's an opportunity to learn. And so I heard some of your frustration there coming from that different perspective, as well as just wanting to be very objective about your physical body. But I wanted to address one other thing. When a person is ill, and this is all theory, this is theory, and the practice often falls apart, but we try to make it not fall apart. So in the country of the United States, when a person is deemed to have a year or less of life left because of their illness profile, we have something called a POLST form, a physician's orders for life-sustaining treatment. And that POLST form, it's an order form. So physicians write orders. So if a person's in a nursing home or in assisted living that has some clinical stuff to it, or if they're in the hospital, a POLST form is created and put on the front in their medical record. The POLST form is based on what the person's advance directive says, and it is based on a conversation with the patient or with the representative of that patient. And it addresses things like, do you want CPR or not? Do you want nutrition? And if you do, how so? And if not, not. Do you want IV fluids or not? Do you want antibiotics if it is deemed that you have an infection or not? Do you want comfort measures only? So that is set up usually when a person gets pretty ill. And to our point, we don't know what's going to happen. We just don't know. Is it an exit side right or to the left? Is it straight ahead? Who knows? Do we all live to 100? We don't know that. But understanding these parts is important, because then you can start to look at what are my options if I end up in this side or that side of these situations. Do you have that in Canada? Do you know?
Yes, we have medical directives, yes.
But the
And
medical
there was
directives are
always,
a little different. The POLST is in addition. So it's what the hospital, the physicians have to follow.
yes, I think we have something, maybe it's not called that. But there is a shade of gray, in things like antibiotics for pneumonia, for example. Is that considered a comfort measure? We always got into little discussions about that, because I don't think that is as literal as, I don't know whether you consider, if a patient has said just comfort measures only, if they didn't specify, but give me antibiotics if it's going to relieve my respiratory distress with pneumonia. I think
you get to choose that, and you get to revisit it, and it doesn't have to be fixed. You just have
oh
to
yeah, okay, yeah,
communicate and with everybody. Has anyone had any experience with this type of situation in the hospital?
No.
Does everybody have their advance directive written?
no,
No,
Who said no?
me.
two of us.
You don't, Ed?
No.
Okay.
But I'm still working on the committee that's looking after allowing dementia patients to make the decision when they get their diagnosis. We don't have that. Do you have that here?
Yeah, we do have something like that here. Yes.
So if you were to give some of the characteristics, if you showed these characteristics, even though you're not of sound mind when the actual time of helping the person die happens, you still could take a demented patient and help them out. Is that right?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
No.
that's what I'm working on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, that's it's a really important topic. So, but since there are many people here, let's shift. We can talk about that if someone would like to continue to talk about that, or we can talk about other aspects that we've been discussing, or someone could say something else.
I
Dave,
have one thing.
oh, sorry. Go ahead,
sorry.
Ed. No, go ahead.
I have one thing to share, which I think you brought out very clearly. And that is that the person who's dying is one thing. If I'm dying and I'm in great distress, that is a very critical issue. All the people around me are also suffering, and they're in grief, and they're having trouble knowing what to do, when to do it, what to say, how to say it to physicians or to staff, whatever. And I think what I heard you saying is it's bigger than just me, or bigger than just the person dying. It's the entire family and community around the person, and the amount of grief and struggle that they have shouldn't be minimized. I can't minimize it. And I'm glad you brought that up, because when you talk about palliative care or easing the pain, that's also important for those people in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, not morphine, but truly they need something. And I'm just not sure that we as a society really have paid enough attention to that, and to the grief process of those who are trying to extend care to the one who is dying. So I just wanted to emphasize, I thought that was a great point, Stacy.
Thank
And
you.
I agree, that is a great point. And it's the house calls that I made on patients who were dying. That's just someone else mentioned that the physician is not so involved in the dying process. When you're a physician taking care of someone at home dying, you are immersed and you become part of the family, really. And they have someone they can trust to guide them through the medical choices that come up. And that's really important. And that's a key role that we've delegated to a lot of people who don't have the skills to do that. And once again, I'm biased, obviously, but as we lose, I don't like to call it a primary care physician, a family doctor or a general physician, a holistic doctor that sees the big picture. Once we lose that, then we're in big trouble. And this is one area that you're talking about here where we're in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to just tell, I had 2 cool experiences this summer with people dying, and knowing that I was sitting with people that were dying, and that I had been with people who are dying, and that I was a physician, meant that I had an understanding about when to give the morphine, how to give the morphine, when to give the Ativan, when to take off the oxygen, when to turn the person on their side, when to leave them alone. And some of that comes from experience, and a lot of it comes from experience. And to your point, Charlie, that a lot of people that are being paid to come in and take care of people who are dying at home don't have all that much experience or knowledge, or both. And the family who is with the person who is dying, that certainly usually doesn't have that much experience, and they don't want to make a mistake. And the person who's lucky enough to be home who is dying certainly feels like they have to go through a process of surrendering, letting go, surrendering over to those who are with them to help them. And to what you were saying, Terry, I think it's super important for all of us to be present for all of us whenever we come upon the opportunity to be with that person who is in need, who is dying, or who is suffering, because there's something lovely, beautiful, and important about not doing it alone.
It's also a gift to the person who does it,
Yeah.
to aid another person in leaving this existence. It's a gift to share that with someone. It was one of the most moving things I did in medicine, next to children. But I learned the most about how to live from watching people die.
The other thing that I'd add to that, Charlie, is that a lot of times, okay, so I don't want to end up in a nursing home on a toilet waiting for someone to come get me off the toilet. I don't want to be on a commode next to my bed waiting for someone to come wipe my bottom and get me back in bed. That's my ego. I know that's my ego, but that's my limit. That's not who I want to be. And so I'm like, okay, so if that's my ego, so then the next part of that is I don't want to burden other people with that level of care. So then when I hear other people say that, I'm like, yeah, but maybe you're not burdening them. Maybe you're giving them the opportunity to take care of you, and that is a gift to them. But my ego is like too far. So I know I personally have to work on that, but I think it's something to be aware of when you're contemplating your process or what you can do for another in terms of burden, not burden, ego, not ego.
And Dulcie, I'm Stacy's neighbor and friend, and sometimes patient. I had read an article a while back where they gathered information about what it is that people fear about death. And I was surprised to read that the number one thing that people feared about death was the pain of dying. And that surprised me. I didn't know. I didn't know that that's where most people were at. And yet, when I've been with people who are dying, the part that has, I would say, frightened me the most is about their pain. You know, so there's something that happens in this thing about whether it's me or whether it's somebody else, because I know that for myself, I don't like pain, but that isn't probably the part that grabs a hold of my mind the most. It's more about, you know, the loss of the people that I love, and you know, imagining their suffering, and you know, that part of things that I haven't, you know, made peace with, I guess, or something like that. So I also hadn't thought about the I don't know if saying degradation, anyway, the butt wiping part of dying, right? I think because in my mind that was not going to be happening to me. So talk about ego, you know, or whatever. I don't know. I did have some hospital experience and some butt wiping part of that. And that was by far the most awful part of it, so thank you, Stacy, for bringing that up. You know, it's really interesting to look at the ego part around dying, right? Both my own death and then the ego part of my connection with people when they're dying and what I want for them, you know, as in that part about their experience of pain or their experience of fear is so, like, it's something I so want to take away, you know, when in fact it is all part of it. You know, in a sense, I don't want it taken away from me, and I don't get to take it away from other people. So you know, I appreciate, Stacy, I'm, as you know, I'm kind of delighted. The topic of death is one that, you know, has always been with me for some reason that I don't totally understand, but it's just always been kind of fascinating to me. And the part I think that has surprised me the most is that I had not really figured on the death of my friends. I'd figured out that my mother and my, you know, relatives, it was like, not that I wanted them to die, but that they were going to die. And that was just how things go. But I think now getting to an age where more of my friends are dying, that has shaken me a bit, I think. So I can only envision that I need to kind of explore it further. I don't know what else to do with it other than that, other than kind of listen to other people's experiences and read more. I saw this movie called Death Makes Life Possible. Has anybody seen that?
Mm.
It was a documentary done by Deepak Chopra and then a bunch of other people. And it was actually, I think it was sponsored in Portland by Death Cafe, something. And if you have a chance to see that, I would really encourage that. And then the other thing I just wanted to put in there is that I recently read a book by a woman named Barbara Butcher, who was a death investigator in New York City. Of course, it'd be helpful if I remember the name of the book. The word dead is in the title, but Barbara Butcher, probably, I don't think she's written too many other books. But anyway, she's writing a book about what it's like to be a death investigator, what her experience of life and how her understanding about death has changed as a result of reading it, as a result of being in that field for those years. So those are the first things that came flying through my mind hearing the discussion.
Just to put it on the video, it's called What the Dead Know, Learning About Life as a New York City Death Investigator.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you for looking that up.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
David. Would you like to say who you are and something or other?
What do I have to do to, hey, am I on
did it.
now?
Yep.
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to, I guess the only, one of the interesting things about me is that I was the guy that married Oren Suta to his wife Morgan, I believe. I don't think he remembered,
No.
but it's an unusual name and I remembered it. I was the official at the time, but I don't know. I'm a kind of an independent guy. I've had a variety of careers and 83 years old now, and I'm still, I would describe myself as a young man in an old man's body.
Yeah.
Because I've still got lots of things that I'm interested in doing, and I still get around. But somehow I've never really thought that much about death. I think it's going to happen, and it happens to everybody, and I know that, and I've experienced, you know, my mother and my sister's death. They both died at home, and my mother was 89 years old, and she just kind of petered out real slowly. My sister was quite a lot younger, and I don't know if she was in pain. I mean, we talked about the agony of dying, and I don't really think she was in that much pain. But certainly, when people are dying and they get to the point where there's agonal breathing and it's really hard going for an hour or so, I mean, I don't know what you could call it, but you certainly can call it pain. It's painful to hear it anyway, and be
Painful
part of
to
it.
us. It's painful to
Yeah.
us more than them.
Well, I think so. Yeah, I think at
Yeah.
that point you're not really in too much. Your body's just responding to its natural inclinations, and
Yeah.
your mind's not too much control at that point. But so, I don't know. I'm certainly not. I'm not worried about it. I don't think about. I don't want to be if I feel like if I get in a situation where I am in some kind of a long-term, you know, cancer or something that's going to last for a long time and it's painful, that I feel like I will be able to come up with some way to make my exit the way I want to, and that may be just ego again, but it's just another job to be done, I guess. And if you take it on as just part of life, then I don't know. That's all I can say.
Would anyone like to respond to David?
I love thinking about it as a job.
Well, it's something that you've got to deal with.
I hear it. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
great.
Oh, David, are you a religious person? You said that you married Oren. Are you a pastor or?
No. I'm a notary public, and I was very good friend of Morgan's parents, Richard and Kay Evans, and
Okay.
I didn't know. So I had a little spate where I was a justice of the peace or whatever you want to call it, and I married a bunch of my friends, and her father knew about that, so he said, well, how about if you do this? Because, you know, they were friends of ours, but I'm not, you know, I had a upbringing, I guess in the Episcopal Church. You know, I was an altar boy and all that stuff, but I haven't, and you know, and I was in college, I was certainly interested in all the metaphysical aspects of death, and it's a topic that everybody wants to have something to say about.
Mhm.
And so, but like I said, I think it's just really one of those things. You got to learn how to walk, and you got to learn how to talk, and you got to learn how to die, I guess. I don't know. Maybe.
Wow.
I think, if
Go
I
ahead.
might just say, I think the antidote, learning how to live is the antidote to that.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done, is try to learn how to live and accepting that death's going to come. I like what you have to say, Dave. Thank you.
I'm gonna jump in here. I was driving on 295. No, I was driving on 95 today, coming north. And for anybody that doesn't know this road, I'll try to explain it, but let me first do this. So I'm coming up 95 north and I'm thinking about this evening. And I'm thinking about how there's this one particular exit. It's the Falmouth exit. And so I'm on this highway with all the traffic, all the long weekend people are heading south. And when you go north on this road, if you miss that Falmouth exit, you can end up out in the countryside for a very long time because you end up having to get off in Gray, or else worse yet, you end up in Lewiston. So you don't want to miss this exit because it screws you up. Okay, so that's my metaphor for what I want to say. And that is that I think be here now and take it as it comes. But in as much as we're in the 21st century in a society that has a medical institution, corporation that manages and manipulates where we are, what drugs we take, if we allow it, right? And puts us in these different scenarios based on our diagnoses, we can miss our exit. And if we miss our exit, we could be fucked. So I think it's really important to be here now and understand that this is life and that physically there's a process that we'll go through. But you also need to know who to keep away from you and make sure that you're on the path and you don't get pulled off the path, or that you don't get distracted and miss your turn, because you can't get back sometimes. And Ed, I would like you to respond to that. And could you say who you are so they understand what I'm talking about?
I love it. Well, I'm Ed, and I've spent my life in ministry. And but let me go to your metaphor for a moment. Christmas Day, I have Parkinson's and cancer and a few other things. And I was standing in the bathroom, blacked out in my head. I'm on Eliquis. So I was kind of bleeding out because I hit really hard on the counter. And they took me by ambulance to Hershey Medical. And I remember someone yelling in my ear, "Can we resuscitate you if necessary?" And I kept saying no. And they had this long needle that looked, you know, I knew what it was for. I mean, you jam it, I guess, into the heart and get you going again. And I kept saying no, and whoever was yelling in my ear kept saying, "I don't think you understand. We need to do this if we think we just know something's going to happen here." And it's the exit. And I guess I was basically saying, "Hey, this exit's just fine. I'll take it." And they refused because I didn't have any directives. They refused to listen to me. And then I was out again. So it kind of, somebody was talking about that. I mean, I looked a mess. I broke bones in the face and everything else, and I looked a mess, but I felt fine. Now that sounds kind of weird, but I really did feel fine. I didn't. It was the strangest phenomena of anything, and of course, I think all the people around me were having much more difficulty on the expressway, saying, "No, Ed, you know, you got to come up this way. Forget that exit." And well, that was the story of my Christmas Day. I don't remember Christmas Day or Christmas Day after or the day after that. So very phenomenal.
Do you think you felt fine because you just were in shock?
I think probably, although I do have a strange mind in the sense that I go to very strange places as well. But I think it was shock. Yes, to be direct, I think it was shock. But
I've had some sort of close calls, you might say, with injuries, and I've always felt fine. You know,
Yeah.
I haven't really felt like, oh my God, this is terrible. I don't know what's gonna happen, you know, I'm freaked out. And I guess maybe I've always been lucky enough to you know, to have things work out, but when I was 15, I was duck hunting in October 7th, like, and I was I was on my way home, and I wanted to go across the river to be on my side of the river, and I was going to borrow my friend's boat. Well, he had hidden the oars. I went to find the oars, and I left my gun in the boat, and I couldn't find the oars, so I said, "Oh well, I'll just take my gun out and go up to the farm up here and hitchhike home." Well, when I pulled the gun out of the boat, I pulled it out by the barrel, and I blew a big hole in my right arm. All the you know, two big arteries that run down in your arm, and for some reason or other, I remembered the pressure point in your arm that I learned when I was in Boy Scouts. So after, you know, I said, boy, I better do something about this. It looks a little scary. So and then I walked a half a mile up to this farm and got some help. But I remember I wasn't scared or anything. I just was, you know, I just got to get up there, but I don't ever really. It didn't feel like it was not a good situation, and I understood that. But I think just being in shock kind of makes it easier for you to accept what your situation is without being overwhelmed by it mentally.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true or not, but so.
Ed, I have a question. What if you had a DNR, were you lucid enough to tell them, no, I have a DNR, you can't resuscitate me? Or you only were able to say no, and you didn't have anything to back you up?
I was lucid enough, if I had one, to have said that, but I did not.
Didn't.
And so I just kept saying, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about medical protocol and legality. I guess they felt they had to do that if I was under their care. They would resuscitate me no matter what my nose said, which it worked out. I'm here.
Yeah.
But the other thing to say, I realized that I don't have as much ego as maybe I thought. Because man, I was exposed to a lot of things so that if I had an ego, I would have been really in trouble. Accepting.
Edie has something she would like to share. Oops, we can't hear you, Edie. Just check your volume. Check your speaker. Which it sounds like you might be muted. So look to the bottom left. Take your oh wait, maybe I can undo you. There you go. You're good now. Go ahead. Uh-oh. Still can't hear you. There you go. Still can't hear you. Let's see. So the choices, you're not muted. And do you know that your volume is up? Do you have headphones? Do you have headphones that you can plug in?
Mm.
Okay, I'll tell you, the only other thing I could think you could do is, if you would like, you could do one of two things. You could call me, or you could type your message and then I could read it. Let's see. Do you want to call me? That would be one finger. Do you want to type it? That would be 2 fingers. What would you like to do? 1 finger. Okay, go ahead. Do you have my phone number? Yes, because I sent it to you and you called me today, so we'll be good. While she's calling, the body is incredible and it is able to heal itself. Sometimes it doesn't work so well, but I'll tell you, medicine sometimes makes it work far worse than if we let it heal itself on its own. So certainly there's plenty of times we have to intervene with surgeries and things, but still, to the point of shock, what shock allows us to accomplish. I think it's a great point. Hi, Edie. Okay. Why don't you say, what would you like to say right now? If you want to, I'll repeat it for you.
Put it on speakerphone.
Oh yeah. Okay, wait. David's so smart. I'm gonna put you on speakerphone and we'll see if everybody could hear it. Hold on. That was brilliant, David. Okay.
Let's try now. Oh, yes. Okay.
So-
I wanted to,
What I think you should do is mute, not mute, mute on your thingy, because otherwise it's echoing a little bit. I think if you mute, it won't echo.
I should be muted now.
Okay, go ahead.
So I wanted to just support all of you. I do believe that it's very difficult being on this side of death and having loved ones that you're losing, and the grief can be terrible. When you get close yourself to death, or if you just peek over the other side, like I've done, it's a different world, and the perceptions are so different. I think David mentioned that about feeling no big deal, it's all fine. And I had another experience, and just peeking through that, I'm going to say, veil of death, with my mom. A few days after her death, she was so happy. She was just delighted to be free of the pain and suffering. It was an extremely happy time for her. And yet even seeing and feeling and believing that I understood that, it didn't really stop the loss. It's just it's one side and it's the other side. When I was in a position to be asked those very serious questions about my advance directive was known to them, the people who were caring for me, but it was all about what I wanted at the moment. And the question Stacy talked about was being very specific and being very careful to be there for the person who is answering those questions was good. It felt good to me to be able to say what I felt. And even though I had an advance directive that I thought was just locked in stone, it's not. At least in my experience, it wasn't. It was what I wanted at the moment. And so I've been kind of collecting all my little bits and pieces that I wanted to say. I think the other thing I want to say is that I have a sense now that when you die, it's a continuum. It's not, to me, for me, it's not like the end, it's this, whatever, it's just different. And you're just continuing in a different form, like rain falling from the clouds, or then vaporizing. So that's about it. I've talked a lot. But that's, thank you for figuring out, Stacy. You seem to be so good at that.
Well, I know when to ask for help. So would
Stacy, I just needed to, because I didn't allow enough time, and so I have to leave, and I didn't want to leave without saying something. But I very much appreciate people showing up and speaking open-heartedly and open-mindedly, and I look forward to wherever this goes. So thank you.
Thanks, Dulcie.
Yeah,
You're
thank-
awesome. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Would anybody, we're gonna stop in just a couple minutes. Would anyone like to respond to something that Edie said?
Well, I couldn't hear her very well, but I sensed some kind of allusion to the fact that she has some faith in life beyond death. And I was going to ask, I guess, the two physicians before Edie spoke about whether you both, Charlie and you, Stace, would see a quite a high correlation between faith and non-fear in the patients that you work with, or whether you would get into believing in something beyond with God, or we haven't talked about that, but I know that some of my fear, and I am a believer that there is a God, but I just don't know that I know we probably don't want to get into this theological discussion, but clearly people who do believe in life beyond, there has to be a presence of an existence of celebratory, something beyond this. Do you experience that with patients of faith, or?
Charlie, do you want to go?
Yes, I will speak to that. Both what I've experienced with patients and personally, I think the thing that helps you die a good death the best is to live a good life, to do the right thing, to be of service, to be a part of a community. I'm a lone wolf, but I still like community. We all need that. So that's part of what I wanted to say. As far as the spiritual aspect goes, and that's been a key for me in terms of my dealing with this topic, I believe, I like Jung's belief about the collective unconscious and the fact that in a dreamlike state, we seem to tap into that, something beyond ourselves, something full of unity, something I like to think of ourselves as holograms, and we're just one little part of everything, and we have it all in us. So for me, I don't fear much in terms of that. I've been through enough now that I do trust the process. In faith, just one other thing I'd say that has helped me greatly is the expressive arts, therapy, whatever it turns you on, visual arts, painting, drawing, reading literature. Read The Death of Ivan Ilyich if you want to really understand death and dying. That's one of the best brief novels about death and dying.
What
Get
is
into
that,
music.
Charlie? Could you say that again? What's the title?
The Death of Ivan Ilyich. It's
By Leo Tolstoy.
Oh, yes.
So the arts is what I had a fellow interview me, and he was a Christian author, And we came to the conclusion that we both agreed that faith, I have trust the process, you could call that faith. And the other thing that staying in the moment, being in the present is crucial to that. There's the soul is what we need to attend to. It's funny, the fellow setting this up talked about soul sickness, and the world has soul sickness now, as we can see. We need to get remoralized, and the way we remoralize ourselves is look to the history, another teacher from the expressive arts. Anyway, I could go on, but we need to tend to our souls, and that's what will make us comfortable as we die.
So Barb, to address what you asked to add to what Charlie was saying, and to address specifically what I heard you ask about patience, because otherwise Ed would give a great perspective also on this, not, but based on what he's done for a career. But I think that you can have a religious affiliation and you can go to church and you can do the rituals, and that which guides you through your death is sometimes going to be more apparent at the time of the process of dying. And 1 second, oh no, you're rubbing your eye. It isn't always so clear someone's faith at the time of death, meaning that, maybe they'll say their prayers, and maybe the church, the priest, the minister will come to their side. Maybe the hymns will be sung, and maybe the person will feel calmed and at peace from that. And maybe along with that, a deeper sense of their selves will also be with them, which I'm going to equate with the soul. That part that is woven throughout your whole life. And for some, that is their religious faith. For some, it is in addition to their religious faith. So I think it's kind of a continuum, Barb, from my experience, how people move through that process with or without their faith. And it's wonderful if it brings calm and trust to that process for that person.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So
didn't hear a lot of, my hearing isn't that great anyway, but I didn't hear a lot of specifics of what, yes, Edie said. But I understood from what I could see is that she had what, they call the life after death experience more than once, maybe. But I didn't understand what she was talking about when she talked about her mother and her mother's death.
Oh, that her mother came to her after her mother had died, and that she felt her mother's presence, and that it was beautiful and peaceful. Am I on track there? Yeah. And I think that, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no answer to be found at this moment on this topic. It is so many points. There's no way to put your finger on it, but it is to take it all in from what we've been saying and sharing and reflecting on, and continue to do so, and to go to people that you have coffee, tea, or bridge or whatever with, and initiate like conversations. It's fascinating to me in front of a wood stove how people start to talk about meaningful things if you ask them to talk about meaningful things. This
Thought up a different name for this.
yeah, what would you like to call it? What do you want it to be, Terry?
No, but a death cafe just sort of is off-putting. I mean, for many people, it wouldn't be off-putting me because it came from you. So I knew it would be interesting. But to say to people, tonight I have a Zoom meeting and they'll say, what kind of Zoom meeting? Well, it's the Deaf Cafe. And they would say, oh, good God.
Okay. Well, we've had David and Ed have participated in some of the other discussions that have gone by different names. And I don't know, this is not my title. This is, this is a thing. So you can
Okay.
do your own thing for sure.
Okay.
Would anyone like to say anything before we end for now?
I'll just say two things. The word presence has come up a lot, and I think that is a key concept in terms of the person dying and the people around the person who is dying. That whole idea of presence, it is to me the beauty of the best of us. The second thing is the idea of just, how can I say it, engaging mystery and not having the answers all the time, but just knowing that life brings a lot of mystery with it, and it's pretty fascinating. That's all.
Thank you, Ed.
John Keats had a name for that. He called it negative capability. John Keats, the poet. It's the ability to live in mystery and doubt without the obsessive search for fact and reason.
Oh, I like.
We have a lot of intelligent people here tonight. I want you to know that, even though you didn't get to all go through everything about yourselves, but you were hand selected and you're quite the crew. And I'm blessed to know all of you. So thank you very much.
And
You're
we're
quite
blessed
the
as well.
moderator.
Bye, Stacy.
Great job.
Stacy.
Yeah,
Thank you
wonderful.
for moderating for facilitating the meeting. And I think you framed it up in the beginning in a way that just made us feel every possible chance of being present and the
Yeah.
way you framed it. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
including me.
Yes.
Yeah. So this will get emailed to you as a video. You don't have to watch it all at once because it's going to be about an hour and a half, but don't delete it. Take a little scan, and I'm sure I'll reach out to you again sometime.
Okay.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Yes.
See you on the
All right, you
pickleball
too.
court.
See you on the pickleball court.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, David.
Bye, Stacy.
Bye, Ed. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Take care. We're being recorded, so I have to
Yes.
exit.
I'm trying. I don't know how to. Where's that little thing?
Same
There
thing.
it is.
Yep.
I got it. Well, yes. I keep hitting that.